Imagine a moment when the person you care about seems distant, cold, or unreachable. A part of you wants to panic, to overthink, to chase, but here's the truth. Their silence is not rejection, it's reflection. Every moment of distance is filled with thoughts of you, running on loops in their mind. Their heart may be racing with feelings they can't yet name, and their mind is wrestling with the intensity of what you mean to them. You see, some souls process love differently, some retreat to protect themselves, to measure the depth of their emotions before they act. But retreat does not mean absence. Every cold shoulder, every delayed message, every quiet pause is a signal they are thinking about you nonstop. The universe has a rhythm, and sometimes love shows up in the shadows before it steps into the light. You must understand the power of presence. Be the calm in their storm. Stand in your own emotional strength. Stand in your own emotional strength. When you are grounded, confident, and radiant with your own value, you become irresistible, not because you chase, but because you embody certainty and love. Their distance cannot push away what is divinely meant to connect. Do not let fear dictate your reactions. Instead, honor their process, honor your own heart, and trust the invisible threads pulling you both together. This is the divine principle of attraction and alignment. What is meant to be will find its way, and often through the spaces in between, the mind and heart become fully aware of the love that never left. Every time you feel the sting of coldness, remember, they are thinking of you. Every retreat is preparation. Every silence is a signal. You are not ignored. You are internalized. And when the timing is right, when the fear dissipates and the courage rises, that distant heart will move toward you with a force that is unstoppable. Love is never linear, but it is always powerful. Your awareness, patience, and energy can transform the distance into connection, the coldness into intimacy, and the silence into a symphony of devotion. Stand tall, trust the process, and know that even in their absence, they are with you, in thought, in heart, and in the quiet, powerful spaces where true love grows. Sometimes when someone you care about starts acting distant, cold, or seemingly detached, the first instinct is to panic. You might ask yourself, do they even care? Am I losing them? Have I done something wrong? These thoughts flood your mind, and yet what you're feeling is often a misunderstanding of how some hearts process connection. Distance does not automatically mean disinterest. In fact, for many individuals, especially those with avoidant tendencies, distance is often a sign of emotional intensity rather than a lack of care. Imagine a river running under ice. From the surface, it may appear frozen, stagnant, or lifeless. But underneath, water flows swiftly, carrying energy, movement, and depth that are invisible to the casual observer. Similarly, when someone steps back or withdraws, it does not mean that their emotions are absent. Often they are processing, reflecting, and navigating the currents of their own heart. The silence you see on the outside may be a storm of thoughts on the inside. A mind circling around you, replaying memories, and trying to understand the gravity of their feelings. Distance can also be a protective mechanism. Some individuals fear the vulnerability that comes with love. They worry that showing too much emotion will expose them to rejection or hurt. So instead of expressing affection outwardly, they retreat inward, creating space to regulate themselves. This doesn't indicate that they don't care. It shows that they are trying to manage their own capacity to love. They may be thinking of you constantly, imagining scenarios, and wrestling with how to approach you without losing their sense of control or balance. It's important to recognize that emotional expression is not universal. While some people wear their hearts openly, others navigate love through reflection and internal processing. A person who seems distant may actually be fully engaged with you emotionally. They just don't express it in the way you expect. Their mind is active, their attention is present, and their feelings are alive, even if their actions suggest otherwise. The challenge lies in understanding that love is not always visible in gestures or words. It sometimes lives quietly in thoughts, intentions, and the subtle ways someone prioritizes you in their mind. When you truly understand this principle, your perspective shifts. You stop reacting with fear or frustration and begin observing with awareness. You start to see distance not as a rejection, but as a signal, a clue that this person is processing something profound. You begin to respect their rhythm, knowing that the connection exists even if it's not immediately apparent. Your emotional intelligence grows, your patience deepens, and your ability to hold space for others without losing your own sense of self becomes a transformative skill. Distance, then, is not a wall. It's a mirror. It reflects the inner world of someone who is wrestling with love, with vulnerability, with themselves. When you can hold the awareness that distance does not equal disinterest, you shift from fear-based reactions to empowerment. You start to trust that hearts that truly care will find their way, and that sometimes the quiet, reflective moments are the most powerful indicators of deep, enduring attachment. When someone acts avoidant, withdrawing, or creating emotional distance, it's easy to misinterpret their behavior as indifference or lack of care. But often, the truth is far more profound. Avoidant behavior doesn't mean the person is disconnected from their emotions. Instead, it often masks a deep, intense process of reflection. Behind the surface of apparent detachment lies a mind and heart working tirelessly to understand their feelings, navigate their fears, and make sense of the connection they have with you. Avoidance is not an absence of love, it's a method of managing it. Some people experience emotions so intensely that expressing them outwardly feels overwhelming, even frightening. To cope, they step back, creating space to process internally before they can engage externally. In those moments of seeming coldness, their thoughts are not empty. They are circling around memories, conversations, and the countless details that reveal how much they truly care. Every word you have said, every action you have taken, every nuance of your presence is analyzed and considered in the quiet core, nerves of their mind. This kind of reflection is not passive. It's active, even urgent. They are thinking about the best ways to protect themselves while maintaining the connection they value. Their withdrawal is not a signal that they are losing interest. It is a sign that they are taking love seriously, wrestling with its complexities, and attempting to approach it with care and intention. What may appear as avoidance is actually courage in disguise, the courage to feel deeply while avoiding actions that could prematurely push the relationship into conflict or vulnerability before they are ready. Understanding this requires a shift in perspective. When we see avoidant behavior only as distance, we miss the invisible labor happening inside. We overlook the quiet mental and emotional energy devoted entirely to us. Every pause, every retreat, every moment of silence can be filled with thought, reflection, and evaluation. They may be analyzing patterns, revisiting memories, and imagining possible outcomes. Constantly engage with the emotional reality of the relationship, even if they cannot express it outwardly. Recognizing that avoidance masks deep reflection allows us to respond differently. Instead of reacting with anxiety, judgment, or frustration, we can approach the situation with empathy and awareness. We understand that their internal struggle is part of their process, not a rejection of us. We see that their mind is active with us at its center, and that their temporary withdrawal is not absence, but preparation. This awareness also encourages patience and self-respect. By respecting their need for space and trusting the process, we honor both their journey and our own. Avoidant behavior, when seen through this lens, becomes less of a barrier and more of a signal, a reminder that meaningful connection often requires time, understanding, and the courage to hold space for someone who is learning to hold themselves. When we recognize that avoidance is reflection, we stop chasing fear-driven interpretations and start observing with clarity. We begin to appreciate the hidden layers of thought, the silent emotional engagement, and the careful navigation of love occurring behind the scenes. What appears distant on the surface can be intensely present beneath, and understanding this transforms our approach from reaction to insight, from anxiety to empowerment. When someone appears distant, withdrawn, or cold, it is easy to assume that their mind is empty of you, that they are moving on or losing interest. But in reality, silence often carries an intensity that words cannot capture. Thoughts multiply in silence. Every quiet moment can be filled with reflection, imagination, and constant mental engagement. What looks like detachment may actually be the most concentrated form of attention, a private arena where their mind is fully occupied with you and the connection they share. For many people, particularly those with avoidant tendencies, love is complicated. Emotions are powerful, sometimes overwhelming, and expressing them can feel risky. To protect themselves from vulnerability, they withdraw, giving the appearance of indifference. Yet behind the walls of silence, the mind is active, analyzing, reimagining, and processing every nuance of your relationship. Every conversation, every gesture, every smile you've shared is replayed repeatedly, and new perspectives are considered. Their imagination can run wild with possibilities, their heart testing scenarios in private, and their mind working tirelessly to navigate the emotional landscape of what you mean to them. Silence becomes a crucible for thought. When they retreat, they are not absent. They are fully present in a different dimension. They might not be sending messages or initiating calls, but their attention is unwavering, focused entirely on you. In the quiet, they are wrestling with questions about the relationship, considering how to protect themselves while also honoring their feelings for you. Every pause is deliberate, even if it is subconscious, and every moment of distance is a reflection of the internal dialogue that keeps you at the center of their mind. Understand, Inji, this shifts the way we perceive distance. When we realize that silence can be a sign of thought, not neglect, fear begins to lose its power. Anxiety about absence, rejection, or disinterest fades because we see that the person's mind is actively engaged. Even if their actions are restrained, their withdrawal is not the end of attention. It is the beginning of internal processing, a necessary step for them to understand the depth of what they feel and how to respond in a way that aligns with their own emotional integrity. This principle also emphasizes the importance of patience and trust. Instead of forcing communication, rushing responses, or misreading coldness as rejection, we can hold space for the other person's process. We can trust that even in the quiet, thoughts are multiplying, feelings are growing, and internal transformation is taking place. The mind often works through love and silence before it expresses it in action, and acknowledging this allows us to move from frustration to understanding, from doubt to clarity. Every moment of quiet reflection in their mind can be a silent declaration of connection, care, and emotional investment. What seems distant externally is a testament to the intensity of internal engagement. The louder their silence, the more profound their thoughts, and the more deeply they are considering you. When we recognize this, we stop reacting, out of fear, and start seeing love in its subtle hidden forms. We begin to understand that silence is not emptiness. It is the fertile ground where thoughts, feelings, and intentions multiply, preparing for the moment when action and expression finally emerge. It's easy to get caught up in what someone says or doesn't say, especially when emotions are involved. Words are powerful, yes, but they are only a small reflection of the emotional reality that drives human behavior. Too often we assume that if someone isn't expressing affection, love, or care verbally, it must not exist. This is a misunderstanding, particularly when it comes to avoidant individuals. Emotions are the engine behind actions, not words. Even when silence or distance appears, the heart may be fully engaged, and the mind may be consumed with thoughts of you. Think about the times when someone acts distant. The words may be few, the gestures restrained, yet their behavior, or even their lack of behavior, can reveal more than language ever could. Avoidant individuals, in particular, often struggle to articulate feelings because vulnerability is intimidating, but the depth of their emotions is expressed in subtle ways: a glance, a hesitation, a thoughtful pause, a remembered detail that reveals how much they are considering you even when they aren't speaking. Actions, or even the restraint of certain actions, are often a direct result of intense emotional processing. This principle teaches us that love and attachment are lived through energy, focus, and intention rather than constantly stated through words. Someone may not text, call, or openly declare their feelings, but their emotions are shaping every decision they make, every step they take, and even every moment of silence they allow. Their withdrawal might seem like indifference, but in reality, it's a reflection of their inner struggle to align their actions with the intensity of their emotions. They may be grappling with fear, past experiences, or self-doubt, trying to ensure that when they do express themselves, it is meaningful and authentic. When we understand that emotions drive actions more than words, we shift our perspective on connection and attachment. We stop misinterpreting silence or restraint as absence. We begin to see the subtle ways that love manifests beyond speech, the way someone's mind lingers on you, the way their attention remains present, even when they appear distant, remains present, even when they appear distant. The way they protect the relationship internally while negotiating their own emotional capacity. Words are temporary and can be misleading, but emotions are enduring and reveal the true state of the heart. This awareness also empowers us. When we stop reacting solely to words and start observing actions and underlying emotions, we gain clarity and confidence. We can respond from a place of understanding rather than fear. We recognize that someone's temporary coldness or silence doesn't mean they are disengaged. It means they are wrestling with their feelings, processing their attachment, and preparing for a more intentional connection. Their emotional reality is active, and we can trust that the heart often communicates in ways that language cannot capture. Understanding this principle allows us to read between the lines, to perceive love in the quiet, and to appreciate the invisible threads that connect us to others. Emotions, not words, are the driving force, and when we attune ourselves to this truth, we gain insight into the depth, sincerity, and potency of a connection even when it is not spoken aloud. Patience is one of the most powerful forces in any relationship, yet it is often misunderstood. When someone you care about seems distant or emotionally unavailable, your first instinct might be to push, to seek reassurance, to demand clarity. But patience is not about passivity or complacency. It is an active, deliberate practice of understanding, trust, and timing. For someone with avoidant tendencies, patience is not just a virtue. It is the key that unlocks deeper emotional connection. The more you can hold space without pressure, the more you allow the other person to process, reflect, and eventually move to RDU with authenticity. Avoidant individuals often retreat when emotions become intense. Their instinct is not to reject, but to protect themselves from being overwhelmed. They may struggle with vulnerability or fear being consumed by their feelings. In these moments, impatience on your part can create tension, reinforce their withdrawal, or trigger defensiveness. But patience transforms the dynamic entirely. By allowing space and demonstrating trust, you communicate that connection does not need to be forced. It is safe, supported, and resilient. Patience communicates confidence, self-respect, and emotional intelligence. It says, I understand the rhythm of your heart, and I honor it without trying to control it. Patience also allows observation and insight. In the quiet spaces of waiting, you gain a clearer understanding of patterns, triggers, and the deeper layers of their emotional world. You begin to see the subtle signs of attachment and care that might otherwise be missed. Their occasional gestures, thoughtful pauses, or reflective moments carry more weight than hurried conversations or forced declarations. When you give time for their internal process, you are not simply waiting. You are actively cultivating an environment where connection can grow organically, free from pressure or expectation. Another profound aspect of patience is self-mastery. Patience requires that. You regulate your own emotions, resist the urge to chase validation, and maintain clarity about your own value and boundaries. This self-assured energy is magnetic. Avoidant individuals respond not to anxiety or demand, but to the quiet strength of someone who can hold space, trust the process, and remain grounded in their own life. Your patience becomes a mirror for their growth, showing them that love does not need to be feared or controlled. It can be embraced gradually and intentionally. Time and patience often reveal truths that words cannot. As they process their feelings and navigate their fears, they begin to recognize the depth of your presence in their life. Distance transforms into approach, hesitation into initiative, and guardedness into openness, but this transformation cannot be rushed. Every step of their journey requires acknowledgement, respect, and patience on your part. Each moment you wait with understanding becomes a building block of lasting trust and profound connection. Ultimately, patience is not passive waiting. It is active engagement with love in its most subtle, powerful form. It is the understanding that true connection is not immediate but cultivated. By embracing patience, you honor both yourself and the other person, creating the conditions for a relationship where distance becomes temporary, coldness becomes thoughtfulness, and avoidance transforms into heartfelt connection. Patience unlocks the door that fear often keeps closed, revealing the depth of attachment, commitment, and love that lies beneath the surface. One of the most profound principles in relationships, particularly with someone who exhibits avoidant tendencies, is this: energy attracts response. What you radiate emotionally, mentally, and spiritually creates a field that draws others toward you or pushes them away. You cannot control someone else's actions, but you can control the energy you bring into the dynamic. When you embody clarity, confidence, and emotional strength, you naturally invite connection even in the face of distance or coldness. The person who seems detached is still responding, subconsciously or consciously, to the energy you project. Think about it. Humans are wired to respond to vibration, to resonance. When someone is emotionally distant, their reactions are often subtle, but they are always influenced by the energy around them. If your energy is anxious, needy, or desperate, it will amplify their fear and withdrawal. But if your energy is grounded, radiant, and self-assured, it becomes a magnet. Even someone who is avoidant and reluctant to engage will feel the pull of your presence, your clarity, and your unwavering sense of self. Energy is not about force or control. It is about alignment. When you are aligned with your own purpose, confidence, and love, you naturally draw responses that match that vibration. Energy also communicates things that words cannot. Avoidant individuals may struggle to verbalize emotions, but they are highly attuned to the emotional atmosphere around them. They sense when you are self-contained, when you are balanced, and when you are centered in your own power. These signals speak louder than any text message, any declaration of love, or any argument. They convey safety, stability, and respect, qualities that encourage them to approach rather than retreat. Energy communicates your boundaries, your intentions, and your emotional availability, all without requiring explicit conversation. When you maintain a strong, positive energy, you are not manipulating the other person. You are simply embodying your truth. You are signaling that love is not a chase, but a mutual dance of resonance. Avoidant individuals respond best not to pressure, but to consistency, calm, and authenticity. Your energy becomes the environment in which they can safely explore their feelings, confront their fears, and ultimately move closer. This principle also emphasizes personal empowerment. You cannot force someone to care, to open up, or to overcome their avoidance. But you can control the vibration you contribute to the connection. By focusing on your own emotional and mental state, by cultivating positivity, confidence, and presence, you shift the entire dynamic. You are no longer dependent on their immediate response or approval. Instead, you create a magnetic field that naturally draws them toward engagement, reflection, and eventual intimacy. Energy attracts response because the universe mirrors the vibration we emit. When you are steady, confident, and radiant, even a distant, cold, or avoidant individual cannot help but respond. They may retreat initially, but over time, they are drawn into alignment with your energy. They may hesitate, but the pull becomes undeniable. The way you hold yourself, the way you embody your values and emotions, becomes the invisible guide that leads them back to connection. Ultimately, the energy you project is the bridge between distance and intimacy. between hesitation and wholehearted engagement, and between avoidance and love. Thank you for your time and trust. Wishing you clarity, strength, and endless inspiration on your journey. Goodbye for now. May your path be filled with growth, love, and powerful transformation.